All right, guys, we're back for week 8 of the gambling show. I'm here with the Burger King. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm sure some of you may be asking yourselves, why is the Burger King on the call here? So we kind of mentioned it in the last episode of the head coach, but maybe you guys didn't see it or whatever. You're only catching this one. The week 7 gambling show, we recorded it like we usually do, but it got like corrupted during rendering, so that did not see the light of day. We're going to go to the week 7 recap now, and you'll see exactly why. We have a perfect 5-0 week from our guy Yanni here, but I'll start with my disappointing recap first. The first one was the Eagles minus 2.5. This actually came home for me. Jalen Hurts hit a couple bombs. Like when we were talking about the Eagles and Giants the week before, we were talking about how Jalen Hurts was not playing good enough football. He missed a bunch of like easy touchdown throws, right? He hit all of those on the deep balls that this week for me. AJ Brown 2 touchdowns, Devontae Smith one for like 189 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley still had a difficult time getting going, right? The Eagles got a pick six against Carson Wentz, so I'd say the team still looked like there was stuff wrong with it, but it was a good enough number to cover that. The Browns minus 2.5. I'm going to save that for Burger King because that was our consensus pick. And for the record, boys, we're now 3-1 on consensus in the last 3 weeks, so we're heating up on those. The Giants Broncos under 40.5. I tried to get cute this week and play like a bunch of totals because I didn't like the spreads. I didn't like the numbers on the board. This one bit me in the ass. It actually looked really like not a bad bet going into the fourth quarter of the game. I was under the impression the Giants were going to be the team that like was capped at maybe 13 points. As it turns out, the Giants were up 19-0 on the Broncos entering the fourth quarter. So 21 points still would have kept me under there. The issue was the Broncos scored 33 points in the final quarter. The Giants, too, like they had a crazy play. There was like a pass over the middle that went off a defender's hands from Jackson Dart. It landed into Theo Johnson's arms and he just ran it in for a touchdown. It was a really weird game. So the over hit like pretty comfortably too. I think it ended up being like a 57, 58 point total there. That just can happen sometimes when you're playing totals and games get squirrely. Under 40.5 is a pretty small number. L by me. I'll just wear it. Then the Packers, same game parlay. This went nothing like I thought it would. The over hit and the Cardinals covered. The Packers still won the game. I kind of mentioned this on the episode that never aired, but the crux of this pick, right, was that Marvin Harrison Jr. looked like he wasn't going to play, and Kyler Murray looked like he wasn't going to play. And I was in on the Packers get winning by at least a touchdown with Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball to Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. Marvin Harrison Jr. did play. Kyler Murray did not. So it was Jacoby Brissett. But the issue was that Jacoby Brissett carved him up. Jacoby Brissett scored like I think 23 points or something. It was a really close field goal game. Man, I don't know what to make of it. The Cardinals like have all these really weird close losses. They actually had a chance at the end of the game to throw a Hail Mary to beat the Packers. I just don't know what to make of any of this, right? Like the Packers are the one seed of the NFC. Like you'd think that they're a good team. I don't know if they're a good team or not. It's like confusing to me what happened there, but not close on either end, right? So it was a 2-3 week for me. The way this works is because I spent $400, right, on the total cost or whatever, and I hit two single games. What happened was I ended up losing like $18 on the week, and that's like the when you see the odds or whatever, right, on the screen, like minus 105, minus 115, that sort of thing. That's like the odds the book give you. Like it's like the green space on like a roulette wheel or whatever, right? Like that's kind of like the house like cut that they're taking. So if those were like just, hey, I bet this amount of money, give it back to me, there would have been no blood. But I lost like on the house of Vig. So whatever, just another $18 in the hole. I still haven't hit 900 yet, so that makes me feel slightly better. Season record falls to 15-20, so we're like a good portion of the way through the season now. I'm still very much in the red, still way under like 500. So I got some work to do in the second half of the season, but I'm stoked for it. All right, Burger King, take it away.
Yeah. So okay, so for this one, pretty straightforward. What happened with the Browns? We bet against Tua in a weather game. The Browns at home have been a really good defense, and like this thing got to the point where Browns defenders were going, "Come on, Tua, give me the ball." Everyone saw that mic'd up, right? Where the safety's going, "Come on, Tua, give me the ball," and then he threw a pick on the next play. You had Mike McDaniel yelling at Tua just to get the hell off the field at one point because it was so bad. Um, I don't know. I think we pretty comfortably got that one. We faded the public really hard there, so that was a really satisfying thing to hit for me. The Panthers minus 1.5 parlayed with the Panthers Jets under 41.5. That was also really comfortable. I don't know, remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was like, do you remember, Ted? Was it 23? Was it 10-13? So it was 23 point over under, something like that. It was not much better than that, I don't believe. Um, and so look, that very comfortably came home. I kind of said in the show, I felt like the Panthers were a much better team. Felt like Justin Fields without Garrett Wilson couldn't get it done. Justin Fields, you know, kind of got through the game, kind of didn't. Actually, Bryce Young got hurt too, which stalled out the Panthers scoring. But I think I had a good read on that. I think I had a good read that both teams were going to have trouble scoring. They were going to try to run the hell out of the football, and it was going to grind up the clock. It wasn't going to be productive. And I thought at the end the Panthers would come out ahead, and they did. Panthers minus 6.5, or the Patriots minus 6.5. I'm really proud of this one. This was a major fade the sharps bet. This was Chad and Simon's brass balls bet of the week. I know that the guys taking the massive underdogs this year have been really profitable, and I kind of had a whole diatribe about why I was going to put my foot down and fade him here. I felt like ultimately this was a Vrabel revenge game. I felt like ultimately football's not a game of numbers and statistics; it's a game of people on the field playing it, and that was really satisfying. That was probably the most satisfying bet like I've hit since we've been doing this, and it was a clear far and away. The Patriots just dropped the hammer on the Titans. And then the Lions minus 5.5 at home. This was actually more of a processes bet than anything else. The Buccaneers were pretty injured coming in. Now they did have Mike Evans, who they lost during the game, so they should have been healthier when they were in there. Baker had his worst game. I think I've seen him play in like a year or two. I don't know if it was because he was banged up, if it's because he lost his receivers and he got a little rattled. He was getting pressured and hit so much too. I just think that happens. I also think the Lions defensive coordinator is probably pretty good. Like he's just pretty sound with what he's been doing so far this year. We also got our first Jahmyr Gibbs explosion, which really helped. And like the Lions really beat up on the Tampa Bay for the most part. Tampa was able to make, get a little bit of it back at the end of the game, but um wasn't too much of a sweat really. I felt pretty good about that. So yeah, I hit the two parlays for $722 return. I hit the other return, just a singular bet at 190. Dug me all the way out of a 4.5 unit hole plus 3 units bet. And then after the profit, I'm ahead $56. Uh, so I'm 17, 17 and 1. I cannot say I've had a winning record on the year. But like I told you guys last week, like me and Ted both work really hard on this stuff. We really do care about getting it right. We do beat ourselves up when we're not. It felt really good to have a big week, but ultimately it doesn't mean anything if I don't follow it up with a big week. And ultimately I want to see Teddy Boy dig his way out of his hole too, right? So we have work to do. We have work to do, and this slate was really, really rough. I was not thrilled when I opened it up, so we'll see how it goes.
I'm just happy that one of us is now in the green and
Yeah.
at least at 500. So just string together a couple more good ones, man, and you'll be kind of where we've been sitting for the past 2 years, right? I just need to
Right.
catch up to you.
Yes, sir.
All right, week 8 picks. So we have two consensus picks this week. I'm trying another three-leg parlay. I will never change, boys. I am what I am, and I will never change. My single bets on the week are the Bills minus 7.5 against the Panthers. That is a consensus of mine and Yanni's. And the other consensus is it just happened to be my other single game. We're taking the San Francisco 49ers plus 2.5. Listen, as a fan of the franchise, the San Francisco 49ers, a lot of times I try and keep my stink away from games, because you either like bet against your team and you're a dirty, rotten traitor, or you bet on your team and when that doesn't hit, then you just feel extra bad, right? It's week 8. I'm going to the well. I need something. I think Kyle Shanahan and the boys are going to help me out here. So I'm taking that one. Yanni is too. Then my 3-game parlay that is surely going to hit this week, boys. I haven't hit one since week 1, but this is the week. You're either hot or you're due, and I'm not hot right now, so that means I'm due. I'm taking the Ravens minus 6.5 against Yanni's favorite team, the Chicago Bears. I'm taking Baker in the Bucks in a bounce back spot, -4.5 against the New Orleans Saints. And then I'm taking the Packers -3 in the Aaron Rodgers Bowl. As a Chico guy, I hate to do it, but I gotta get back in the game, man. I gotta get to the green, and if that means fading Aaron Rodgers, I will do it. So if the three-leg parlay hits, that returns $726.25. If the single games hit, that returns $390.63. On a perfect 5-0 week, that returns $1,116.88 on a ticket cost of 300. So if I have a 5-0 week here, I can at least get to 500 for like my total record, and I can get really close to being profitable. I'd still be in the red, but it'd be really close. Really need it for the brand, for the gambling show, for the free Tendies fantasy method. I think this is going to come home though.
I think you have a good shot, and also I think it was probably a good call to do the three-leg parlay to limit some downside this week. I was checking in on what other, other handicappers or other gamblers were doing, and like a lot of them started their week by going, whew, ooh, this slate. Like, I don't think it's one that people were excited to attack. So I think it's good. You have a bunch of upside. You limited your downside. Like, it was probably a good call. I did what I've been doing all year. I think it's actually really helped me. Like, I've been learning as I go here, right? The two-leg parlays and then a standalone game that I feel the best about of all of them is actually sort of been what I've been doing. If the standalone hits and the two parlays don't, at least I only blew like a unit, maybe, 1.2 units. Livable, survivable. If one of the parlays hit but the other two legs don't, I'm around breaking even. I'll usually lose a little bit. So I'm gonna keep going until something happens. Something's gonna change. I don't know. I've hit 3 out of 4 of my same game 3 of 4 of my same game parlays this year when I've done the game total and the spread. I'm trying it again here. But I'm gonna parlay the Bills -7.5 with the Patriots -7. And then I'm also in with the 49ers at the Texans with Ted. And I'm also going to bet the under on that game at 41.5. Going to parlay it, doing my same game total and spread parlay. And then I'm going to single bet the Broncos Cowboys over 50.5. I think if the Cowboys are around 50, I'm probably just going to keep betting that until it costs me something. Total parlay return 760.88. Total other return 180.75. Total potential return 945.63. I'm staking $300 on it. I am currently up a nice Chinese meal. That is what I've won this year at 56.17. Hundreds and hundreds of hours put into this. My whole life watching football, it has amounted to. I guess that would be like a Panda Express family feast. If you went cheap, you could get a good amount of Chinese for $56. But my total season record is 17-17-1. Hopefully, we're at a winning record at the end of the week.
All right, time for the games, and I'll start this one out. This is a consensus of ours, the first one of the week. We're both riding the Bills -7.5, going to Carolina to play my second team, the Panthers, the undefeated at home Carolina Panthers. So we're really kind of we're stepping out of the box on this one, but I think it's a good play here. For the betting breakdown, 77% of total bets against the spread are on the Bills versus 23% on the Panthers. The Bills are also getting 84% of the total dollars, so a slight lean from the Whales, but nothing too crazy. The Bills on the year are 2-4 against the spread, so what's happened with this Bills team, like other than their two straight losses, which are really bad, they're also getting like these really big spreads that they're not covering, which is not characteristic of a Josh Allen team typically. On the other side, the Panthers are 5-2 against the spread though, which means they're usually the result for the Carolina Panthers is better than Vegas is giving them credit for. So I mean, as a second fan, that's great, but we're going to fade him here. Offensively, the Bills are fourth in yards gained and 15th in yards allowed, and the Panthers are 19th in offensive yards gained and seventh in defensive yards allowed, which is insane to me. That it's insane to me that there's any metric that says the Carolina Panthers are better in any way than the Buffalo Bills. So a couple things about this game, right? The Bills are coming off a 2-game losing streak. They just came off their bye as well, so they've had 2 weeks to kind of sit there and stew in this, in their bad skid, right? They're not playing well. Josh Allen kind of had a weird couple games as well, but I feel like this is a sell high on the Panthers team here. I think a lot of what the Panthers have had success doing is kind of beating up on these bad teams, right? They have wins against the Dolphins, They have a win against the Jets, and then they beat the Falcons somehow in like one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. And then they have one other win. Who was it, Yanni? They beat the Falcons, Dolphins, Jets, and
The Cowboys, right?
yeah, the Cowboys was the other one. Yeah, so like they have a couple wins that like look pretty good, but I feel like they were more so circumstantial than anything else, right? They were able to run on teams like the big Rico Dowdle stretch where he was running for like 200 a game, right? So we have the Bills who like are really desperately needing a win coming off a bye, and you have Bryce Young is going to be out for the Panthers, so it's going to be Andy Dalton out there. So for an offense that I don't think has really looked that good anyways in Carolina, right? That they've been running decently, but like the passing game looks off to me. When you lose your starter, I'm not under the impression that Bryce Young is like a elite or even good NFL starter, but losing your quarterback does not help. I don't think like Andy Dalton's going to come out here like Mac Jones has for the 49ers and really play above his skis here. So the way I see this game breaking down, right? Because I think the Panthers' defensive rank is like totally a mirage. I do not believe that that is like I don't think they're a good defense. I truly don't, right? So I think Josh Allen is going to come out here, do the classic Josh Allen stuff that he does. I think the Bills are going to put up points. James Cook, I think I know the Panthers have done pretty well against the run the past couple weeks, but this is James Cook, boys. I think James Cook is going to go crazy here. I think the way this game like kind of profiles, right, is the Bills get up a couple of scores, whether that's 14, 20, whatever, right? And the Panthers are going to get scripted out of running the ball with Chuba and Rico, which is what they want to do. And it's going to be like Andy Dalton in like must pass situations. Like they have Ted McMillan, who's a very nice player, and Jalen Coker should get a little bit more run, but they still don't have really the weapons there, I don't think, in Carolina. So I feel like the Bills pressure that they're going to put on the Panthers is going to make the Panthers not be able to play their game, and that's why I took it. I'm also on the wrong side of the hook, right? I took a really bad number with 7.5. Like I know there were sevens hanging out there for parts of the week, but I am like so confident in what the Bills are going to be able to do offensively and willing to fade the Panthers that I'm even taking the wrong side of the hook here. 7.5 is a big number, but I'm on it. How do you see this game, man? How did you arrive to the same spot I did?
So I don't recall off the top of my head what the exact record is, but Josh Allen has a ridiculous win record and cover record after buys. Josh Allen tends to do really, really well coming off a bye. I think James Cook, like if they took an accounting of what happened in the first 6 weeks of the season, I don't know how you couldn't come out of it and go, we need to get James Cook the ball a lot more. He was like immaculate for through the first 2 or 3 weeks, right? And then they stopped using him as much. I think that'll change this week. And then also like Carolina runs like a lot of like zones. I think Khalil Shakir should be pretty free to get open underneath. Like I think Khalil Shakir is going to have a really big game. I think James Cook is going to have a really big game receiving. Um, and I don't know. To me, I think what you said though was exactly right. It's just a sell high on the Panthers. I think they've had a really really soft schedule for the most part that's allowed them to get out and win games, and that's cool. It probably saved Dave Canales from some uncomfortable conversations about Bryce Young and his future in Carolina and all that. Um, yeah, so I'm willing to sell high right now on there. This is not playing the Dolphins. This is not playing the Jets without even Garrett Wilson. They played the Jets, and also like Andy Dalton looked more over the hill to me. Both this last time he had to come in there for a little bit, they really weren't able to move the ball. And last year too, like I know he had two good games, but then he had like just a stretches of terribleness too. Like I don't really know what we're getting out of Andy Dalton. And I think this is sort of a must win with the Bills, who probably would rather be hosting a playoff game against the Chiefs this year than going to Arrowhead. Like with the way the Chiefs look, the Bills are going to get spanked again if they meet up in the postseason, especially if it's at Arrowhead. But at least they have a little bit better of an advantage or a shot. Like I think they need to be pacing Mahomes and the Chiefs for wins, and I don't know. I don't think they're letting their foot off the gas pedal. If they go up seven, I don't think it's going to stop at seven. I think they're going to be happy to hang 31, 34, 38 points on them here. And there's just no way that Andy Dalton keeps up. To me, the Panthers have a very clear formula for how they stay in games, and that's running the ball. Like they can stay, their O line is so beat up, they really can't pass block very well, but for some reason, they're run blocking really, really effectively. So like to me, it's basically they need to stay in neutral or positive game scripts with regard to the running game. And I don't think that's going to happen. And if that point, Andy Dalton is going to have to throw the ball 35, 40 times. I love Tet. I think Tet might have a big week this week because of that, but I don't think it's going to keep the game within 7. So,
Also, a good point you brought up, right? Like the Patriots are nipping at the Bills like heels too in the
oh yeah,
AFC East. I think
huh.
they're first place right now because they have the
Yeah.
win over the Bills head to head. So not only are they playing for like home field advantage, they have to really like come out here and have a good performance to make sure they win their division. Especially with
Yep.
the Patriots have the easiest schedule left in the NFL, right? That the Bills can't afford to drop any more of these like games they should be winning. And make no mistake, they should be beating the Panthers here.
Okay, Browns versus Patriots. I'm going back to the well for my Patriots. My Patriots favorite pick here by 7. They covered 3. They covered the spread in 3 road games in a row, and now we're favored by 7 at home against one of the best defense in the NFL by yardage. This is risky business, but I'm going back in. I think the market continues to misappraise how good of a team the Patriots are, and more specifically in the context of playing these kind of bottom of the barrel teams. I think the Patriots are officially a buttoned up organization. So that's why I've been buying on them the last couple of weeks. I'm going to continue to do so here. The public does not agree with me. 78% of every dollar bet against the spread has gone on the Browns. 74% of every dollar bet against the spread has gone on the Browns, as opposed to 22% and 26%. The Browns against the spread this season are 4-2, as are the Patriots. Offensive ranking for the Browns are 30th, and their defensive ranking is first, which always cracks me up. The Patriots are 14th and 11th in offense and defense, respectively. Drake May is one of the leaders in the NFL in bombs 20 plus yards down the field. I believe he's second or third in passing yardage. He's been absolutely fantastic lately. Um, so, what is this a bet primarily on for me? It's primarily a bet in the difference in coaching. Vrabel and Josh McDaniels are no joke, man. Like Vrabel, if he's shown one thing, that guy was making AFC championship runs with Ryan Tannehill. Like he was legitimately threatening the Mahomes of the world, the Ben Roethlisberger Steelers, like these teams, the Lamar Jackson. I believe they beat the Ravens one year, did they not? Believe they knocked out Lamar with that year. They played the weird defense on him in the first round. That might be off the top of my head, but I think they did.
Mhm.
Um, because I remember like weird conversations about why Lamar can't play in the postseason because people couldn't believe he lost. Um, I just like I think that doesn't get enough respect, and I think it hasn't gotten enough respect all year with how we bet the Patriots. And I think they may just be one of those really unique teams that would had a terrible year last year, had down coaching, and they turned it around in an offseason. I think Stephon Diggs has looked wonderful to me. I know he's going to draw the Ward matchup here. There's also something to note just about the Browns, like defense on the road versus defenses home at home has been a pretty major split. Their defense has not traveled very well at all. And I guess the other side of that is this is by far the best defense Drake May has faced this year and the best pass rush. So I think maybe there's warranted concern there. How does Drake May handle probably the most pressure he's seen all year, probably the toughest pass rush in D he's seen all year? I don't love that it's at 7, but I do actually take that kind of as insurance. One of the reasons why I put this in the parlay with the Bills is because a 7 pushes in a parlay, and then that leg is treated as dead, and you still get access to the other bet in the parlay. So like I'm also kind of looking at it like, well, it's sort of a free roll on the upside there, right? If they win by 7, that's going to get blanked out. If the Bills win, I'm going to hit one of those bets and get they treat it like it's a singular leg if that were to occur. So I don't know. That's also something like, do they win by 7 in a push and then the Bills win? It's not the worst thing in the world for me. But I capture all that upside of I think they might go in there and kick the Browns' teeth in again. I don't know, dude. I'm wondering, just are the Patriots one of those teams? I'd like to know what you think about that, Ted. Are the Patriots one of those teams that like they beat the Bills like at home. That's a big deal to me. A lot of people thought, well, the Saints are going to be the game where they finally get got. You and I were together on that one. Well, okay, now the Titans are going to be the one that finally cover them. It just seems like we should probably stop giving significantly worse franchises that are in disarray that much credit and assume the Patriots can put up a 10-point margin on them.
Well, I mean, a couple things here, right? I think the Patriots are pretty good. Like, I don't think they're like an elite team, right? I don't think they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC,
No.
right? But I think that clearly they're moving in the right direction. Drake May is playing at an extremely high level right now, and I would call them like the Seahawks tier of teams that like I'd say yeah they're pretty good. Like I don't think they actually can make a serious run or anything, but like they're playing well for sure, well coached. I like a lot of what's going on. A lot of the things that you hit about this game are exactly where my head was at. Right, the Browns defense has not been traveling as well because in Cleveland you get like these crazy weather games, you get frigid cold, you get gusting winds, you get all that stuff. Right. New England, like I mean, the weather can be like that sometimes. But I mean, I think it's fine to play the Patriots -7 here. My reasoning behind that, I know that Drake May, like he hasn't played a defense this good yet, right? So I do trust that the wheels aren't going to fall off of him though. Like at a bare minimum, I think he'll be like pretty good in this game. And if the Patriots can get up, right, what they've done really well this year is they played really good rush defense. And the Browns, the way they want to play is they want to run the ball with Quinshawn Judkins, right? So if the Patriots can get up like at any point in this game and the Browns fall behind and like Quinshawn is off the table, then you're like into the weird like against the Steelers we saw this. The Browns dropped back with Dylan Gabriel like 57 times and he just cannot push the ball down the field, right? So when you have an offense that's like operating like that against like a well-coached Mike Rabel team and defense, I feel like that the problem with betting big numbers is like a lot of times like you're like, oh well, you're leaving yourself open to the backdoor cover. I don't think the Browns are gonna if they get down multiple scores. I don't think that windows is open for a backdoor cover with the offense they're rolling out, right? So the Browns path, the path to you losing this is if the Browns keep this thing really really close, like I don't know, like a 6-0 or 6-3 like halftime score, then you might be in trouble. But as soon as I see the Patriots score like anywhere in the neighborhood of 17, 20 points. I'm feeling like this is coming home. So I like the pick here. I like the process. I think you got a good one. All right, next one. This brings me so much joy to fade the Chicago Bears. I understand, free Tendies fantasy watchers of the program, that I am 0-3 this year on betting the Ravens. So if you want to fade me, maybe you get it here. But I'm 10 toes down on this. I love this number. The Ravens -6.5 at home. The betting breakdown is this: the Bears have 56% of total bets against the spread, which is I don't know. Do I want to call myself a sharp here? I'm not going to do that, but I can see why the public would be excited about the Chicago Bears and their three game winning streak. Our friend Yanni here is also very excited about what this Bears team could be. But that being said, they're only getting 36% of total dollars against the spread here. So there's like a 20% marketable whale play on this Ravens side, and I think it's going to be for a sneaky good reason. Against the spread this year, the Bears are 4-2, which is shocking to me, but hey, they've overperformed versus what Vegas values them at, and the Ravens are 1-5. That is their season record. We just know it's been the season from hell from them so far. The Bears ranked 12th in offensive yards gained and 25th in defensive yards allowed, and the Ravens ranked 21st in offensive yards gained and 30th in defensive yards allowed. So I mean, we have to lead with the fact that it looks like Lamar Jackson is going to be playing. The entire crux of this bet for me is that Lamar Jackson is playing in this game, and this is a crazy. I'm getting a key number on a Lamar game, which I think if it's announced he's playing, like this number shoots up to 8, 9, or whatever. Like if Lamar wasn't playing, I think the Bears win this game. But I honestly think that Lamar Jackson is worth anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 14 points, like against the spread for your football team. So when I look at what this Ravens team has been this year, right, and what they've struggled with, their offense has been okay, right? When Lamar's in there, they've been functional. They've looked good at points, but their defense has been atrocious, right? So they're going up against a Bears defense that has one of the worst defensive lines in the entire league. So to me, I'm playing Derrick Henry this week in fantasy, in like the most important league, and I'm terrified of what he's about to do to the Chicago Bears. I feel like the Ravens aren't going to have issues scoring here whatsoever, right? I think the Ravens are live for anywhere in the neighborhood of like 32 to 35 points in this game. So what I have to really ask myself is like, okay, do I think that Chicago can score enough to keep it within a touchdown and keep this thing competitive against the Ravens? Because I think if they get down big and the Ravens can just run Henry, I think this thing's over, right? So I look at what the Bears have been, and to me, they're offense has been freaking me out the past couple weeks. I know Caleb had the hot start. Everyone was really excited about their Roma Dunze bags and what this Bears team could be. But when I watched the Chicago Bears, specifically last week against the Saints, I did watch that game a little bit. Caleb Williams does not look that different to me than he was last year. Like I really don't trust him still. I think that he still does this stuff where like he has plays where he looks like he's improved or like doing something really amazing, and then he has I don't think I've seen another quarterback in the NFL fumble more snaps than Caleb Williams, right? He throws bad interceptions, he does weird stuff constantly. He'll take a big fat sack to take the team out of field goal range. Like I feel like he is still a limiting factor for the Bears. So even though like Ravens defense is still banged up, totally gettable. They are getting Roquan Smith back, so that helps them in the middle. I just feel like the Ravens are going to be able to take advantage of a couple of weird Caleb stalled drives, right? Maybe they can get a sack fumble, something like that. So I feel like the Ravens just are closer to getting stops and more likely to getting stops on the Bears, and I just don't know how the Bears are going to stop the Ravens at any point to keep up in this game. So it is kind of like, I feel like a lot of people are excited about the Bears, and it's kind of a weird pick, right? Given that the Ravens are 1-5, the Bears are over 500, but I think this is the start of like the Ravens' real last push to keep up in the division. Right now, they are technically the favorites to win the AFC North on most books, which is kind of crazy to me, given they're 3 games behind the Steelers. But they absolutely cannot be dropping any more games if they want to try and make it to the playoffs. They know this. Everyone knows it. I think that the Ravens have that like desperation, like best performance of the year. Right? We saw that with the Dolphins against the Bills in Week 3. I think we get one of those out of the Ravens here. I like them to cover at least a touchdown in this spot. What do you think, man? I know you're a Bears homer. Which side do you prefer here?
I'm certainly not a Bears homer. I have an affinity for the Bears. I really like Ben Johnson. I'm a huge Ben Johnson guy, and I like Caleb a lot coming out of college. So, yeah, you know what? I guess I kind of am like a weird. I'm a fellow traveler with Bears fandom. I definitely like the Ravens side here. The Bears are also missing their starting 3 corners. They are down the top 3 corners on their depth chart. So like I have the Lamar Zay Flowers stat going in 3 leagues for fantasy on Sunday. I'm very excited about that. I think you're probably right to be a little worried about Henry. He probably finds room here, but the Bears defense has looked better coming out of their bye. I don't know if it's a good defense, but they've looked better. Um, I don't know how many defensive starters the Ravens returned, but they returned quite a few this week. They're not going back in with the same leaky defense they had. They returned a few big names. I know a few of them were out for the year, but should be a much more stout defense here. No, so you know what's funny? The only reason I wasn't willing to go in because I did look at it, I took a long hard look at this one is just because the Ravens have burned us twice this year. I was with you on both of those Ravens picks, and like it was just frustrating. And I don't like trying to figure out like I'm also kind of emotional about the Ravens. Like, dude, I probably have I don't know, multiple thousands of dollars that are riding on Lamar Jackson staying in for the season and playing well rest of season. Like multiple. I have huge stakes in fantasy on him in terms of like really good teams that Lamar Jackson needs to come through on. I'm very emotional about that whole thing, and I don't need added emotion to it. They burned me twice, and Lamar, I just so that's actually why it's like this weird. Probably got my feelings a little bit is why I stayed away from it. But I think you have the right side. I think the Ravens come home. I do think this is a great sell high on the Bears too. I think the Bear to me it's like what the Bears are is they're a team that improved from last year. It looks like Caleb is improved to me at least. I mean he's almost at a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's at I think nine touchdowns to 3 interceptions with 2 rushing touchdowns, so he's at 11 to 3. Um, he's not quite pacing for 4,000 yards, but just shy of it. Like dude, if you're at almost a 4-to-1 touchdown ratio and getting almost to 4,000 yards, like that's a pretty good for the Chicago Bears. That's a pretty good season. I know you have Ben Johnson, and you have a defense that's really humming, and the run game's really going right now. Or you have weapons that are really humming, and the run game's really going right. I get it, but so I think the Bears have been playing really good football. But I think you're absolutely correct. This to me, this is just you sell high, you go with the guy who's one of the greatest players we've ever seen play the game. He's without three corners. Like I think Lamar is going to go to town on Sunday. I just hope he's in. Like there is just some concern he warms up and doesn't feel right or something. Um, but it looks like he's going.
Oh yeah, if Lamar doesn't play, this is DOA. This is immediately over if Lamar doesn't play. But based on the reports I've seen, like I think he got a full practice in today.
Yeah, he went limited, limited, full, and then they said they're going to do a pregame workout. If anything feels weird, he's going to sit. But to me, that was probably just trying to give him something to think about at the last minute there, you know. Okay, we're riding together on the Niners plus 2.5 at the Texans. I am parlaying this with the under 41.5, so I'll intro the game. Ted can dive in afterwards, see what he thinks. This did worry me a little bit because this is like such a public bet. I just don't. I don't know, dude. That to me is like, am I just sort of mindlessly clicking the one everyone likes? We'll see. 87% of total bets against the spread have gone for the Niners. 89% of total dollars bet against the spread have gone for the Niners. Part of that is probably the Texans looking pretty horrific in prime time against Seattle. Honestly, I think a lot of offenses are going to look bad against Seattle, but that was like particularly bad. The Niners against the spread this year are 4-3. The Texans against the spread this year are 2-4. Total number of bets on the under. This is where like I'm, oof. I guess maybe I'm sharp on that end of it. 23% of total bets have gone on the under. 32% of total dollars bet have gone on the under. That's opposed to 68% of total bets going on the over. 72% of total dollars going on the over. So the public seems to be convinced this is a shootout here. I am not. The Niners for the over under this year are 4-3. 4 times over, 3 times under. The Texans are 2-4. They've gone under 4 times this season. Total offensive rank for the Niners in yardage is sixth. Total defensive rank for the Niners in yardage is 13th. That is incredibly, when you look at the number of players the Niners are missing, that coaching staff is absolutely crushing it this year. Granted, an easier schedule, but they're absolutely crushing it. For the Texans, 22nd ranked offense and the fourth ranked defense. The Texans defense is one of my favorite watches in football. Yeah, I know it's repetitious. I know we've said it multiple times. Hearing those pads clack, like I mean, just they are cracking people. It looks like grown men are getting their feelings hurt out there. It is fun watching the Texans play football. It's awesome. Like if they had a reasonable O line, this team has a like what I think is almost not a generational defense because that needs to keep up over a few years, but like as good as of any defenses I've seen in the NFL in the last decade. Just awesome. D'Amico Ryans gets his guys ready. It's such a shame that their offense is dragging, and that's kind of my point with taking the under here. Um, Sala and D'Amico know each other's schemes really, really well, actually, because I believe D'Amico came up under Sala and then he took Sala's role when he left. I think he was on the staff before Sala left, if I recall correctly. I'm not sure about that. Um, but and also like D'Amico and Ryan know each other extremely well. D'Amico and Kyle know each other extremely well from coaching together for years. Kyle knows exactly what they are trying to do schematically on defense. They schematically on defense know exactly what Kyle's trying to do on offense, as does Sala with the Texans offensive coordinator. These schemes, these coaching staffs, they are very much all from the same tree, right? So my feeling, and then you go in and look at like the top two receivers from each team are down, or at least Ayuk and Parasol are down for the Niners. Whether or not you want to call them the top two, I don't know. But Ayuk and Parasol are down for the Niners. You're missing Collins and Kirk for the Texans. Like the Texans were relying on Dalton Schultz last week to get the ball going. They were dumping it off to Woody Marks left and right. They couldn't run the ball to save their life. I I think like offensively, this is going to be an absolute slog for both teams. I don't care that it's an indoor game. I don't care that the Niners have been good offensively. I think Mac Jones is going to be getting teed off on left and right. He might not finish the game. He's been so banged up and had trouble getting himself off the turf multiple times. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the outcomes here is he does not, he exits the game early. CJ Stroud, same thing. He is like a crash test dummy out there. It is so bad. Now, the Niners had lost the star from last week, Huff. Bryce Huff, he's going to be out for a couple weeks. Their D line is really, really bad. I don't know how much they're going to hit CJ Stroud, but I also, if there's any offensive line that the 49ers current iteration of their D line can get pressure on, it is this offensive line for the Texans. They are that bad. They are terrible. Abject, horrific football. It was a terrible watch to watch them play Seattle the other night. So I feel great about the under. The under was no problem. And then I started kind of checking out what the sharps are saying, what all the betting big shows are doing. And it seems like the Texans are like the pick of the week. This is the one that everyone is smashing. So we have to take the Texans here. Kyle Shanahan is 1-14 against the spread coming off a win, which I thought was really interesting. Coming off a win in, yeah, I think they said just straight up the last 2 or 3 years, he's like 1-13 or 1-14 coming off a win against the spread. They do terribly at covering spreads off a win. I don't know why. That's an interesting thing. Maybe they get a little bored or something, or not bored, but like confident, overconfident. Um, was the Bethune game. Bethune had a wonderful game last week. Absolutely stepped up, man. He was playing sideline to sideline, killing Bijan in the run. They held Bijan to like 50 yards in a long run of 7. So, I mean, the Falcons could not find room to operate last week. Was that a fluky thing? Is Bethune actually a solid backup who's going to step up and play good football? I don't know. He was one of their highest graded defenders in the whole game last week. It looks like Diamador Lenore is questionable game time decision with a quad injury. Upton Stout was questionable game time decision with a quad injury. So the Niners have some injuries in the secondary, which I would care more about if Nico Collins or Christian Kirk were going. It looks like the Texans are going to rely on 2 rookies, Xavier Hutchinson and that other white dude, I forget his name, who we talked about on the last show. Um, I just don't know. When I do my prop bets for this game for 49ers Hub, I'm gonna bet probably the Christian McCaffrey over on rushing because I think they're gonna feed Christian because that's how you want to attack the Texans is on the ground. Even then, it's not great. I just think they're not gonna want to drop Mac Jones back with all the pressure. So I think you're gonna see like these 8, 9, 10, 11 minute drives. I think the Texans are gonna try to dink and dunk their way down the field, which also chews clock. I don't think it's gonna be particularly effective because the Niners like have been pretty good, man. They've been a pretty good defense. Saul is, damn good, man. So, but my bets as I've been trying to conceptualize this game, I'm probably going to want the Woody Marks over on receptions. I'm probably going to want the Jalen Newell over on receptions out of the slot, and then I'm going to want Christian McCaffrey over in rushing. I think I at least in my head I have sort of a clear idea of what this game script and what this game looks like. It's kind of how I felt about the Jets and Panthers last week. So, and then, which team do I trust to come out with a win in that circumstances? In a messy slog, I just give me the team that has significantly more talent, at least on the offensive side of the ball. They're both pretty damn good defenses. They're both pretty good coaching staffs, except for the Texans offensive coordinator. I don't like him. I don't trust him. I'm comfortable doing the same game parlay. Can I make it 4 of 5 of these this year, which would be awesome to hit? I think I do on Sunday.
Well, this is one. I was telling you this pre-show, but I'll share the story as well. My dad called me like on Thursday or whatever because we do a pick'em league or whatever. And he was asking like who I picked between the Chargers and the Vikings or whatever, right? And I was telling him, hey, like I'm getting my ass kicked in the gambling show. Do you want to help me make a pick? So I sent him all of like the games and the spreads or whatever, and I was like, what do you think? And the first one he told me to pick was the Colts minus 14.5. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do that number. And then he said, why not the Niners? And I was like, oh, I mean, why? It's kind of scary considering the entire team is like crippled at this point. And he goes, but they have Christian McCaffrey. And I was like, huh, you know what? That's a pretty good point. Like Christian McCaffrey just destroyed the Atlanta Falcons on the ground. It was by far his best rushing performance of the week. I think that has to do with George Kittle being back. I think that George Kittle being back in the game, he didn't catch a pass last week, and I think that's because he was out there being a bulldozer. Like he was probably the best run blocker for the 49ers last week. So I think that really helps the run game efficiency for San Francisco here. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the engine of this team. It's kind of been an off-season take of mine. Obviously, like things have changed with all the injury for the 49ers, but I was telling Yanni this all year, especially in preseason for fantasy drafts. I was like, if the Niners are going to be a good team and win games, it's entirely on the back of 23. Like that guy is going to have the type of season he did during the Super Bowl run. And so far, man, absolutely electric season. So I really like at least that aspect of the game, right? I hate the Texans offense. Like some naysayers could be like, oh well, it's because the O line is so bad and CJ's a crash dummy back there, and the Niners aren't going to be able to get pressure. I mean that sure, like yeah, we are missing our top two like edge rushers and all pro Hall of Famer Fred Warner in the middle. I understand that, but I hate without Nico Collins, I just don't see what this Texans offense is going to do, right? So for those reasons, and then the other thing I was thinking about, right? Like this Texans team, since they're missing Nico and Christian Kirk, right? So I would say both of these teams are really banged up coming into this game. But the Niners have shown, like, over the at least the sample size of the season so far, that they can still play good games and have good performances, even when so much talent is on the sidelines. They've been doing it all year, right? This is the fact Texans' real first try at playing crippled. So I feel like since we've been in the dark for so long, Mac Jones has proven that he can do this. That's why I took the Niners here. And other point I'd like to make is the reason I took the Niners point two at 2.5 points instead of the money line. Right? Usually I say just give away the points. Usually the way the counting is like they'll cover this. I think that Yanni's right that this game is so gross. Right? I love the Texans defense. I think the Texans offense is gross. The Niners are missing guys. Right? I think that because there's probably going to be a lot of field goals and defensive stops and weird stuff, like there is absolutely a world, I think, where the Texans win by one or two. So I do think it actually brings some value here to take the full 2.5 points versus the money line here. So this one's for the old man, and I feel like we hadn't bet the Niners yet. It's not free Tendies fantasy until I jump on the Niners and curse them on the gambling show. So had to get it in week 8. All right, next one. This is actually, believe it or not, my favorite play of the week. I'm going to put my stink on it. This is my 5-star play of the week, favorite one on the board. I'm taking Baker and the Bucks as 4.5 point favorites going into New Orleans to play the Saints. And I understand that this is like the sharp pick of the week. All of the professional bettors love the Saints in this spot. I'm making no nos. I'm doing like the square thing by betting against a home divisional underdog, which historically is a bad bet. But I feel like there's so much value here in this number and what this Buccaneers team is and what the Saints team is really that I felt compelled to play this. So I feel like the betting numbers like are pretty indicative of that idea that this is a square bet too. 67% of bets against the spread are on the Bucks, but only 45% of the dollars against the spread are on the Bucks. So we have large whales that are swimming with the New Orleans side. It's just people who call themselves sharp will take the Saints here. I just guarantee it. But you don't have to be sharp to win these bets. All I'm concerned about is covering, boys. Season records against the spread: the Bucks are 4-3, and the Saints are 2-5. Um, Offensive and defensive rankings: the Bucks are 16th in offensive yards gained and 17th in defensive yards allowed, and the Saints are 23rd in offensive yards gained and 19th in defensive yards allowed. So I mean, historically, right? The Saints have really played the Bucks pretty tough. This goes all the way back to like the Jameis Winston days when Jameis Winston was still the number one pick and Bruce Arians was there and stuff. Like the Saints at that time, like they still weren't a very good football team. I think they still stunk around that time. It was like when Sean Payton was still there and the team was reeling. But the Saints would always beat the Bucks when they shouldn't beat the Bucks, right? And that kind of continued through the Brady era as well. Brady dropped a bunch to the Saints for no reason. We had like the legendary Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore rivalry that went on. Like the Bucks and Saints usually they have some pretty sick games that they play. I feel like the iterations of what these teams are so different at this point in time that I'm going to throw all of that history of the rivalry and the upsets out here and say, hey, this is under a touchdown. I need to play this, right? Baker Mayfield, I know he had a bad week last week against the Lions, but overall, this entire season, I still think he's an MVP candidate. I think he's playing at an MVP level. He's been so good this entire year, and he's been so clutch too, right? And the emergence of Emeka Egbuka, I understand that Mike Evans went out last week. He broke his collarbone. It looks like he's done for the year. The 1,000 yard streak is dead, right? So that's a big like hit to take as an offense, but I think Egbuka can fill in and be able to operate as the alpha pretty comfortably here for this Bucks team. So even though you're missing Bucky Irving, you're missing Chris Godwin, you're missing Mike Evans, like that, those are three extremely good players, too. Those aren't just like whatever weapons; those are elite weapons, man. But Baker and Igbuka, I think, are going to be enough against a Brandon Staley bland cover four defense, right? What does Emeka Igbuka do better than anyone else? He runs that deep post route, and Baker hits him on the deep stuff, right? How do you beat cover four? You run in between the safeties, all those deep post routes. It feels like Baker's going to have a bounce back here, right? After his worst performance of the season against an undermanned Saints team. Like they played admirably. That really like they've had pride in what they're doing this year, and I feel like a lot of their losses are like moral victories, right? And a lot of times what happens is when you have these like nice looking losses, like people are inclined to bet you as an underdog. So I get it, but man, the talent difference in these teams, right? Like you could say the Buccaneers, like secondary is banged up and they're susceptible to being thrown on. At the end of the day, it is still Spencer Rattler out there as the quarterback, right? Like he just had a terrible performance against the Chicago Bears. I think it was 2 picks. They were talking about like, oh, well, how can we like better like protect him, right? I think that was like something that Kellen Moore said in the press conference, right? Like we have to set up Spencer Rattler to succeed. You can do that. He's done a decent job of doing that this year. But if the Bucks are like scoring it will here, right? If we have a Baker and Igbuka explosion, like is Spencer Rattler really going to keep up if this thing is like a shootout? I just don't think they're that type of team. The Saints, they still have Alvin Kamara, right? It looks like he's going to get full run, but it looks like he's missing a step to me. I don't know what's going on, but he has not been the Alvin Kamara I'm used to seeing. And he's going up against a stout Bucks rush defense too, so like I think the path to the Saints trying to score here and move the ball is going to be a lot of shorter stuff to Kamara or Juwan Johnson, right? Maybe the deep shot play to Olave or Shahid. I know Olave had a couple like really nice catches last week, but I just feel like the talent difference of these teams, what's going on here, right? The Bucks are trying to compete for the 1 seed in the NFC still, right? They're coming off a bad loss. I know it's a short week for them. I know they're going into the Superdome, but like honestly, I don't think the Superdome is as much of a home field advantage as it used to be, right? Back in the days with like Sean Payton and Drew Brees, it got loud in there, man. It got loud in there. The fans like really excited about what their team was doing. Now this is like a effectively like a lost season, a tank season for the Saints, where like they're playing okay but not great. I don't think you're gonna have that same level of like loudness or energy in the Superdome. I really think the Bucks have something special here with this team. I think Baker's cooking up something great. I love this number too. Anything short of a touchdown, I would play it. Bucks -4.5. Squares to square bets. What do you think, Yanni? I am shocked as a Bucks lover you weren't like jumping all over this because to me it was by far the best number on the board.
So it was my sixth bet. So I told you, I always make my little list, and this was the one that was right on the edge. I maybe should have thought more about it. So here's how the math worked in my head. One, I think you have the right side. Two, I think everything you said is correct. I think Baker's playing some of the best football in his career. But so just a few things that because I thought about this game a lot. Like I probably should have taken it. I told you I was slammed today, right? I didn't have time to put as much time into thinking through my pick. So maybe that's going to bite me in the butt at the end of it. But so 4.5, right? I do think the Saints actually match up really well offensively with the Buccaneers in the sense that, like, I think Olave and Shahid are going to be able to get loose, going to be able to run after the catch. The Bucks have a really weird issue specifically with like receiving running backs and short yardage receivers running after the catch. So, like I think Kamara should be able to get some catches and runs here. I think Jawan Johnson maybe gets some catches and runs here. I think Olave catches and runs here. And so to me, it's just a matter of do they cover the 4.5? And like, could I see them being up by a touchdown and they get a backdoor cover here? Yeah, I kind of could actually, or they're up by 10 and they run down and get a touchdown all of a sudden. It's really just more the weird number because the Bucks are so banged up. That's all it was for me is like I actually do think it's dude, you're losing Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Bucky Irving. Like that's a pretty tall task. I think you're gonna get it. I think it's the right call. It was my sixth one. So I almost was down there with you. So I think it comes home and I think it's right. I just do think there's at least a little bit of warranted cause for concern. Um, that I think the Saints should have room to operate on offense. I think Kellen Moore is good enough to scheme them room to operate. And I think Olave has been playing really good football. Shahid has actually been playing really good football. Kamara, I think prime Kamara is just gone. I don't think that's the Kamara of yesteryear, right? So yeah, I don't know. There was just enough there. If the Buccaneers had either Chris Godwin's or Mike Evans or Bucky or just any of that, like if it wasn't three major injuries, I would be in. And then the other one is like Baker, I don't think is 100%, and neither is Igbuka. Like Baker's had the weird ankle issues a couple times this year. I remember he kind of went down, got all twisted last week too. And then Igbuka, I mean, he played like he was 100%, but I don't know. I couldn't imagine he is. It was one of the only hamstring injuries to come back the week of in like 20 years. So just also both their studs are a little injured. Um, yeah. So there was just enough weirdness that like I could see them winning by 4 is basically where I was at with the game. That's the only reason it wasn't one of my locked in top 5.
Well, I'm hoping that this is my Patriots moment for you last
Yeah.
week, right? Like
Yeah.
this is like any professional bettor who watches this show and just watch that segment would be like, this guy's an idiot, right? Like the professional bettors are in love with the New Orleans Saints. Like they've been on the Saints. Like the Saints have been a sharp pick for like the last 3 weeks. Like
They got
the betting
Super Bowls
public, the
convertible.
betting professionals love the Saints side. So I don't know. I don't think Vegas is going to have any trouble getting tickets or money on the Saints here, but I like it.
I mean, I don't know why they're excited. They're 2-5 against the spread. That's not like a sterling, right? If they were like 4-1 or something, maybe you think they're kind of like a sneaky wagon. Like the Panthers, I picked the Panthers a few times this year. They're like a sneaky wagon, but I don't think the Saints are.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
professional bettors find things that they like about a team, about an
Yeah.
underdog, right? And like, hey, if there's
Yeah.
something I like about this team and they're an underdog, I'll take the points. Like, and that's
For the
reasonable, right? Like,
yeah.
the whenever the Lions are underdogs, that's one of like the best picks or one of the sharp
Yeah.
picks always, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm getting the Lions and points. Like, why would I say
Yeah.
no to that, right? So,
For the record, I think you have the right side of it. So this one is sort of an interesting bet for me. This is like a systems bet more than anything, where I just think if the Cowboys are around 50 points, I'm going to take the over on that. There's been a little bit of a road and home split with them, so I guess there's maybe some cause for concern. But man, that ball flies so nice at altitude. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Cowboys at the Broncos over 50.5. Only 43% of the bets have gone on the over, and 56% of total dollars bet have gone on the over. So I guess there is like a whale lean there. I guess I'm fading the public in favor of money by a 13% margin. That's okay. But look, the Cowboys on the over under this year are 5-2. The Broncos are actually 2-5. So the Broncos tend to be an unders team, but this is much more a bet about the Cowboys for me than it is a bet about the Broncos. And it is primarily because of this statistic right there. The offensive ranking in yards gained for the Cowboys is first. The defensive ranking in yards allowed for the Cowboys is 32nd. They are the worst offense or worst best. Oh God, they don't edit that out, leave it so I look stupid with my helmet and sunglasses on, my crown and sunglasses on. Offense, they are the number one rated offense in the league and the worst defense in the league. If you talk about a recipe for overs, I don't again off the top of my head, I would have to go check. I want to say they covered the 54.5 against the Skins last week, didn't they? Or no, did
yeah,
whichever
that
movie?
was like 40s, and the Skins got to the 20s, so they were like over
Yeah.
60.
Yeah, so they went over 60 with Marcus Mariota, like playing, not really. I guess he only played a little chunk, but like a hobbled Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. I bet the Panthers Cowboys over and it hit. Like I can't imagine. So again, right, this is not some in-depth thing. I just think the Broncos are going to be able to go out and get 17 to 24 points here. In fact, I would be stunned if they could not muster 17 to 24 points here. They're probably live to go for 28 to 35 here because it's the Cowboys. And then I think the Cowboys have been playing such ridiculously good football offensively. They're easily live in my head for 20, like 28 points is like 24, 28. But if not, like if they really go 35, um, I just I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a shootout quickly. They're talking about Trevon Diggs might be on the IR with a concussion he got in his house, which is bizarre. But he's not going to be out there against Sutton this week. And then the Surtain matchup, very real thing. He's probably going to get CeeDee Lamb or he's going to get George Pickens. But one of George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb is either going to get coverage rolled away or coverage will. So that is one thing they might do is they might stick Surtain on one of them and then roll coverage to the other side. But if they line up in the slot on the same side or whatever, one of those guys is not going to get Surtain and he's going to be wide open. I think that's the beauty of having a George Pickens and a CeeDee Lamb. I like George Pickens to have a huge week this week because CeeDee Lamb is going to probably get Surtain most of the time. We'll see what they do. The Eagles actually, interestingly enough, had Mitchell take Pickens for most of the game when they played together in the first week. So I just, dude, like to me, the Broncos are going to have so much room here, and I think Bo Nix has actually looked pretty bad for most of this year, but when he gets a favorable defensive matchup, he goes off. I mean, that's kind of his thing. He's like, to me, he is the quintessential against the spread can crusher, where I really like picking on him in games where I think it's going to be a can. And I know he actually did cover against the Eagles this year, which was pretty surprising, and then failed to cover against the Jets. So I understand he has not been sterling in that narrative. But yeah, I think the Broncos are going to hang 24 to 28 points. I think the Cowboys are alive every week to go for 35 to 40. My only mild concern here is, do the road woes for the Cowboys kick up again? They went and lost in Carolina, right? Like their offense has not looked quite as banging on the road, but they also have only had CeeDee Lamb for one of those games, and it was at Philly. Like that's a pretty tall task, I think. And against seventh ranked defense Panthers, which apparently is a tall task. I don't know, allegedly is a tall task, maybe. Um, yeah, so I like this one. I felt so good about this. I'm putting it as my individual bet. I don't know why the Vegas has not just moved these lines significantly higher. I guess because there's a lot more ways for the under to hit than the over. They kind of want to dare you to bet the over because like a lot of things have to happen to hit the over, whereas only one or two things maybe go wrong and then you're at the under. So maybe that's why, but like to me, the Cowboys should be like at a 52.5, 54.5, 56.5. They're approaching that territory, and they just got significantly worse with the news that Diggs is probably headed to the IR. So this is very comfortably for me in over 50.5. I would be surprised if it's a sweat, but maybe.
Well, I mean, the Broncos to me, their big issue, like you said, has been Bo Nix, right? Like
Yeah.
we just watched a game last week where the Broncos were goosed through three quarters against the New York Giants, who are also like a bottom tier defense in my mind, right? And there are things about the Broncos defense to like, right? Like the Sertan matchup on CD, I think that's a big deal, right? Or Pickens, whichever one he takes. The rush defense has been decent for the Broncos, so it's like okay, Javonte Williams has had two rough weeks, but I mean, as a systems bet, I would if I were you, right, and you're willing to do it, I would just keep betting the Cowboys overs until it doesn't hit at this point, right? So like
Mhm.
I did this 2 years ago with the Saints when they had this weird like they hadn't allowed over 20 points or whatever for like 16 weeks or something. I rode that for a while and it was just a little cash cow, right? And the Cowboys overs have been cash cows. So I don't blame you for taking it. Just to me though, the Broncos offense is so weird that like it wouldn't shock me if they scored 40 or 13 points.
Yeah.
Like how much they scored like 13 points against the Jets and then yeah, it was three terrible quarters against the Giants. So it weirds me out, but I mean if I were going to bet, I'd take the over just cuz the Cowboys factor, right? That they really are like an outlier. That I don't think we've seen a team like this in the NFL and I don't know how long. I don't know if I've ever seen a team like this in the NFL that just is so bad on defense but balling on offense like this. So I like the pick. I was just, especially I haven't been hitting those point totals like you have, so I was just like, yeah, you couldn't pay me to do this one, but I wouldn't be shocked to see another over. I'll say that.
I think Dak is live to have the funniest MVP we've ever seen. He might get an MVP award just off like because he had to put the team on his back and sling the ball, like 50 times a game. We'll see. Stafford is actually like first in the NFL in passing touchdowns right now. But yeah, dude, it's been that kind of year. Dak to me has been playing incredibly good football, and it just doesn't matter because his defense is horrible. So
So
yeah,
I have a team right now in fantasy that's 2-5. I have a must-win game. I'm playing a team that's like, what are they like 6-1, and I'm already like off to like a 30-point lead or whatever. I had Vidal and Lad on Thursday night, and that team has Dak and Jordan Love, and I sat Dak this week for Jordan Love. And that's probably a pretty good segue into the next game. The Packers going to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers in the Aaron Rodgers Bowl. And I'm taking the Packers again. They just burned me last week. I'm betting against a Chico legend, Aaron Rodgers here. But I'm betting against the other thing that I'm doing, and it would not be my betting show. It would not be the Free Tendies betting show without saying this Tomlin magic, the Tomlin black magic does not exist. I am directly betting against, as Chad and Simon love to call it, the rah rah Tomlin spot. I'm betting against Tomlin as a home underdog here. I'm bucking all the trends to take a team that's looked gross for the past month. Packers -3 is the pick. Here's the betting breakdown. This is a massive fade the public pick for me. Only 31% of total bets against the spread are on the Packers here, and only 17% of the dollars bet against the spread are on the Packers here. So the public doesn't like it. The whales like it even less. I feel like the rah Tomlin spot has become mainstream, right? I feel like when sharp betters, a lot of times what they're doing is they're doing the opposite of what the public does, right? They say, oh, yeah, well, fade the public is usually a good move. There's a whole YouTube show I was watching the other day, and it's just this guy who all he does is talk about games he's fading the public on. So the old fade the public, bet the Steelers as an underdog play is now the public move. So am I getting value here? I think I am. Season record against the spread this year, the Packers are only 2-4. One of those covers was Week 1 against the Lions, so they're 1-4 since then. Have not looked like the team that we thought they were, and the Steelers are 3-3 on covering the spread. From like the yards gained perspective, the Packers are 14th in offensive yards gained, and 6th in defensive yards allowed. So by that metric, they seem like a pretty good team. Then the Steelers are 24th in offensive yards gained and 28th in defensive yards allowed. So when I look at this game, right, I have been a notorious Jordan Love hater. I have always been of the opinion that he is not as good as the market thinks that he is, right? And that's largely in part to the decision making. Like I feel like he throws some of the worst picks. He makes some of the most boneheaded calls. A lot of what happened last year was the Packers became the most rush heavy team in neutral game scripts, right? And I feel like a lot of that was because they were trying to get the Jordan Love variants out of their lives and say, hey, we're a pretty good football team. Let's just win games running the ball. That being said, though, like this Steelers defense to me, you know, when you talk about historical Steelers spots and Mike Tomlin spots and all that stuff, right? I feel like so much of that is based on the Steelers defense being like a top tier unit. Like they pretty much have been the entire time Mike Tomlin has been there. Something looks off to me with this Steelers team, right? They just allowed 10 yards per rush to Chase Brown in that Bengals offensive line. They just let Jamar Chase like pop off on them. T. Higgins popped off on them. We've had weeks where Justin Fields had one of his best games of the year against the Steelers. Justin Fields played the best game I've ever seen him play against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, right? So I feel like the opportunity is there to score points on this Steelers team. So I think the Packers come in here with a rush heavy game script like they have been, right? Josh Jacobs is playing at an elite level this year. Josh Jacobs is really the heartbeat of this team to me. So I like his prospects of being able to just run the football effectively, get in the paint a couple times, and then as well, right? Like the Steelers corners have just been getting burnt. It's Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter Jr. just got sunned by the Bengals duo. Obviously, what the Packers have out wide is not as good as what the Bengals have out wide, right? You have Romeo Dobbs in a silly guardian cap, and Matthew Golden mixes in there and is unhappy about not getting the ball. I think Dontavian Wicks went down with injury last week. Christian Watson might play in this game. So it's kind of like a weird rotation for the Packers, but I feel like there's going to be an opportunity here. And Jordan Love, like, I've hated on the kid, but he's played some nice football this year. I think it's not like elite football. He's not the elite class of player yet, right? But I think he's minimized his mistakes at least improvedly to me. So I feel like the Steelers team, what they've always done under Mike Tomlin is, hey, we play good defense, we force turnovers. So that is spooky betting on Jordan Love against a turnover team. But I really do think this is a rush heavy game from the Packers here. They'll have success offensively. And I think Jordan Love will take care of the football here. On the other side for the Steelers, right? Like what they do really, or I guess what they've been doing better this year than they had been in recent years is Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball a little bit more, right? And I think that does match up well against the Packers secondary. I have been saying the entire time that's the weakness of the team. The weakness of the Packers defense is in their secondary. They have a bunch of undersized guys, right? So there's a lot of people that think like DK Metcalf pops up here because he's like a refrigerator out there, giant, unbelievable physical specimen. But the Steelers' offensive line hasn't been great either, right? So the Packers, they've been stopping the run pretty well. I think that they're going to be able to stuff Jalen Warren here like as much as they can, I guess. So I think that it's going to be entirely on Aaron's back here, and like a really insanely emotional spot, right? I think that if I know anything about Aaron Rodgers, it's that he is chomping at the bit to get one last fuck you in to Green Bay and beat the team quarterback by the guy they said thanks but no thanks to keep, right? Like, make no mistake, like Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs and the Packers got rid of him for Jordan Love, right? I know this game means a lot to him, but that like level of emotion, I don't think is always like a great thing. So I feel like he's going to come out here and like try and really, really stick it to the Packers and be the reason that the Steelers offense has success and wins. And I just don't know, right? He's not mobile anymore. So in theory, you're paying Micah Parsons quarterback money. In theory, it should be a good spot for the Packers to get after him, pin their ears back. I don't know. And I feel like it's a good number too, right? All the Packers need to do is like win by a field goal and it's a push. Really what I see here, right, is if you're betting the Steelers at +3, in the way I bet football games, like I don't have much value on like a 1 or 2 point like underdog. So to me, when you bet the Steelers +3, you're betting the Steelers to win the football game. I just there is no I I'd be shocked if the Steelers won this football game. If the Packers lose outright to the Steelers, they're like I'm willing to say they're not nearly like that they're not a Super Bowl contender. You cannot be a Super Bowl contender and lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You just cannot. And you know what? You could say this is like the Tomlin black magic. This is where his teams overperform. I'm not interested in those narratives or historical trends when I think that teams and players change every year. The Packers need to take care of business here. I think that they do. I will be very excited to watch this game as an Aaron Rodgers fan. And honestly, in the back of my head, I'll be rooting for the Steelers. I actually will want the Steelers to win, but it just seems like a tall task for me. Packers -3 is where I landed. What do you think, Yanni? Am I just like the biggest square in the world or what?
No, so this was like my seventh one. So I really like this number, and I'll be honest, I'll be totally honest with you. I chickened out because of the Tomlin narratives. I was like, oh man, like I feel like on paper it just looks so apparently Packers here. But yeah, I got scared because of the Tomlin home underdog trends. Um yeah, I don't usually take those things that seriously either. So I do wonder if I missed one. To me, like in almost every way, the Packers are a better team. Um the Steelers are like almost creepy to watch this year because it's like it's Tomlin and it's like it's their jerseys and their defense is still out there, right? And they have TJ Watt out there doing his thing, but like it's not working. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look right. It looks like this creepy zombie corpse of what they used to be dragging around on the field. And even though Aaron Rodgers has looked great, I actually think offensively they've looked totally revived. I think Arthur Smith is calling a great ball game right now. Um, yeah. So like again, to me, like I would have, if purely roster standpoint, I would have smashed the Packers here. I was only worried because of the weird trend of betting the favorite at the Steelers under Mike Tomlin. So I chickened out because of the narratives. Maybe I'm becoming a square in that sense, in the sense of taking narrative seriously. But I think like gun to my head, I'm absolutely picking the Packers here. And frankly, I need the Steelers to start losing. My fantasy season is tied to Lamar Jackson showing up and playing games through week 17. So, like, it would be the best possible outcome for me here. You hit, you cover, great. Ravens are 2 games back. I hope to God your 2 picks come home this week. It'll make my life much easier in fantasy land. So I'm rooting for you. I think you have the right side.
Well, I'm happy if this goes south, if we get Tomlin again, I'm happy to take the bullet for the program. One of us needs
Thank
to be winning. So that's going to do it for us. If you made it through the whole video, thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps the channel out. Question of the day for the audience. You can do it, Burger King. This is your show. This is your episode.
God, you're putting me on the spot. Did you guys know you can get crowns from Burger King? I did not know that until today. So I pulled up and the lady goes, "All right, sir, we'll have your order." And I said, "Excuse me, do you guys still do the crowns?" And she goes, "The what?" And I went, the crowns, the cardboard crowns. And she goes, yeah, we do. Do you need a crown? And I went, yeah. And then I pulled up, and then she didn't give it to me initially. She like gave me my food and goes, all right, have a good one. I went, can I get the crown right there? And they're like in a little stack next to the window. She goes, you seriously want that? I said, yes, I need the crown for it. It's for like a skit thing. And she handed it to me. And I don't know. She looked at me like I was such a creep. But I didn't know like there was a culture. I had no idea. Why would they do that? Why I don't, how is that beneficial to their business model? And then I was thinking about like In-N-Out secret menu. I don't know. Are there weird things you guys fucking order from fast food restaurant? Like I think there is a thing. There's like a secret menu thing. Maybe I haven't been involved in it or whatever. I don't know. If you order something weird from somewhere, have you ever ordered the grilled cheese from In-N-Out? It's awesome. Have you ever done that?
I've never done that. I mean,
Oh,
I've heard of all the weird stuff they do, like the
yeah.
Flying Dutchman, which is just like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah. They'll
patty.
do
Like,
that.
what
Like,
are we doing? Why is that a
yeah.
menu
Yeah.
item?
So yeah, if you have a weird secret menu fast food story, tell it. The quesarito at Chipotle. They used to do that for us in high
Oh,
school.
that was
That
awesome. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that one.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll catch you guys next week for the free agents.